homeless services industry and infrastructure over to the administration's favorite people who are implementing the policies in the way that they view as politically viable,
What, what,
basically.
what do you think what the first wave would look like after funding is cut, if it does continue to get cut?
So, had that preliminary injunction not be there, uh, the the new funding round doesn't come in until closer to the end of the year, and uh, what happened is the programs would just lose their funding, and so there would just be people, 100,000 people would just be given notices. Hey, your the funding for your lease, for your program, for your shelter, for your transitional housing or whatever has been cut. You have X amount of time to leave, and people would essentially crowd up the shelters. The shelter system would become jam packed, overflow. They wouldn't know what to do. It
Well,
would just
they're already because they turn
yes,
away at a certain point anyway.
yes, they're already overflowing. So, but they would basically clog the local homeless services system, and there's no way around it. What you would see are hundreds of thousands of more people living on the street, going into jails, going into hospitals, um, and committing survival crimes like stealing food, uh, entering into buildings, abandoned buildings and houses and stuff just to try to find shelter. So that's what you would see where that funding to be
And these
cut.
are people who already have mental health issues, who already need help.
Some of them, uh, many homeless people are working. Many these people who are already housed, whose funding would be cut to put them out on the street, um, are many of them for the first time in their lives finally stable, finally working. They're often in treatment, and they're like getting their stuff together and are not utilizing these emergency services. And when that funding is cut, these people will be forced to find new ways to survive. And because of the overflow and the clogging up of the system, it wouldn't just be the shelters that would be turning people away. You would see hospitals implementing policies to weed out or select individuals that are, in this situation and turn them away for care. And once people are actually outside, you're talking about the purge. You're talking about Hunger Games. You're talking about things that people who had no intention of waking up this morning to steal stuff or to break into stuff or to do these things are feeling like it's necessary to simply not die of exposure or hunger.
Is that why you think they're criminalizing the status of homelessness, and not just the actions to try to get ahead of that?
Well,
And with
I
it a
don't
problem?
want to make myself sound like a conspiracy theorist. So what I will say is that I honestly believe that it's a lack of creativity on the part of the administration. It's a lack of vision. Um, it's a lack of empathy and of humanity and of understanding that every human is a world of potential, is a world of opportunity. And my hope with this case is not just to stop the cutting of funding or the targeting of homeless people, but to open the broader conversation about housing being a human right and about how we move forward as you see more automation in our economy and as you see less and less of a job market that we kind of grew up in and that we understand to be normal. As that shifts and changes, the question is, what do we do with everybody? Are we going to target them, put them in camps, hope that they starve and die and just kind of fizzle out? Or do we give people an opportunity to develop themselves, to have children, to raise children, to invent the future? And I think that this zero sum thought process of if you don't have it now, you're worthless and you never will be anything, and we're going to punish your poverty. I really just see it as a misguided um, philosophy, a misguided perspective. And I hope that eventually the administration, the corporations, the governments will come to see the light and kind of view housing as a human right. And I think that if we all think about um, what the possibilities are for that, that we can have a real win-win scenario for all of us.
Why do you think, how do you think 'cause my first thought is that funding and, like, affordability, how could we make, housing a human right? How could we be able to afford that?
Okay, well, we live in a our money is fiat. This is something that is going to be touchy, for people who really are at the top of the system to even say out loud or to talk about. But our money simply is because we declare it to be. We don't. It's not actually based on heavy metals or any of that type of stuff. Uh, and what housing as a human right, in my mind,
Mm.
represents a vision. One of the biggest kind of problems is that as these jobs of necessity of like growing food, our agriculture, big agriculture is largely automated. As we look at healthcare, which is becoming more and more automated, as we look at all the main and delivery, as we have like self-driving vehicles and all that type of stuff. What is the vision for the future? Our economy is just distributing resources, but the question is to what end? To do what? And I think that um, giving people, creating a high quality of life for individuals to learn, to grow, and to create is really a highest calling. And I look at housing as a human right as almost like a vision for the future that it is something like the pyramids. And I think that the imagine what it's like to raise well-adjusted, healthy, happy, and educated children. Think about the incredible potential of human beings um, who whose parents did not have to live under wage slavery. You're asking where the money comes from.
So
I'm saying that money is what we decide it to be. And that it is not that if you take one thing, we don't live in the economy where you make shoes and I make loaves of bread and we have to exchange them in order to have anything. We live in an economy of electricity inputs, mechanization, and product line outputs. And so you or I or average people we know in America operate in a services economy where we're serving food, answering phone calls, doing Zoom calls, and become TikTok influencers and whatnot. And so the this whole "where's the money gonna come from" thing is almost a non-question for real, because where does any of it come from now? It's numbers in a computer.
so you're saying you think that the current automation that we're experiencing in society can lead to people having more free time and leading to more productive people, which then compounds to now a more productive society and a more flourishing society, and then so on and so forth, to
Yeah.
where we really could have housing because of people essentially reaching more of their full potential.
Yes, for the first time in history. It would have never before been possible, but because of automation, right now, there are more, vacant homes than there are homeless people in America. It's simply a mismanagement, a misallocation of resources. It's malinvestment. On the part of those elites or whatever. And this whole, I'm not against profit. I believe that there will always be jobs. I believe that that it's just that a basic quality of living just provides a floor so that individuals can be entrepreneurial, so that they can be innovative, so that they can educate themselves, so that they can raise their children, and that housing as a human right is both possible. The resources and the infrastructure are already in place. We wouldn't lose anything. You wouldn't need to build um, new sewer systems or new water pipes like these, not any more so than what is already required. Where these and the opposite is actually true.